Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. I'm as loud as I can always be here at 9:12 Eastern Time. Glad to have you with us. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Manmouth. I'm joined tonight by JB Ellis, Jacob Christer, and George Eichhorn. Before I turn it over to them to say their hellos, I'll let everybody know that the Sports Exchange is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube South Florida Tribune. We're striving for more subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. One way to do that is through the chat room or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, give me a call at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter/X at Tribune South. Candy Ebony is producing the show tonight, as well as her incredible work on the website. I have a book out there called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders, that can be purchased on Amazon and Kindle. What that really amounts to is old school media versus new school media. And finally, the Sports Exchange, as well as Pundit Pundit, will be appearing real soon on NGBN TV. Looking forward to working with that group headed by Ian Hill. With that said, let me turn it over to Joe Ellis. Welcome back, Joe.
How's it going? What's going on tonight, guys? Great show planned.
Yeah, awesome. That's what's going on.
Big day in sports.
Oh, yeah. And we got some pretty good topics and then some. All right, Jacob.
Oh, I can't wait to be talking about tonight because I get myself out of work and there's 3 huge deals to talk about. I knew we're going to have a big day.
Yeah, well, John Shearer, I could have sworn that you're probably actually on this show because for some reason I think you're taking a mind reading class.
Bo's on the greatest coach in NBA history. He sure is.
Yeah, but I'll get to that in a moment, John. But you're going to put you in the GMTA category. Great minds think alike. But that said, my colleague for the last 40 plus years, who's counting after all this time, George Eichhorn, the other author here. Welcome back, George.
Good to be on board. Looking forward to the show, and I'm so happy I got this in the mail. Great read. We'll talk more about it later.
You bet we will. All right, well, Joe alluded to the fact that we have a lot going on. But before we go to some of the other news, I want to talk about one particular game that probably, unless you're going to a sports bar, you're not going to see it at home. It's the Kansas City Chiefs against the Miami Dolphins. Their playoff game is available on Peacock. There is no local TV, even for us here in South Florida. And as a result, Amazon is paying $110 million to the NFL, which amounts to about $3 million per team. And an interesting fact about this game is the game will be played in 5-degree weather, and the Miami Dolphins are 0-10 when game time temperatures are 40 degrees or less. So I'm going to start with George Eichhorn. We have 2 things we're going to allude to. The Dolphins will be ice fishing, and I have a feeling they may be fishing for some problems with those temperatures there. Have to use ice fishing in there because a lot of us are from up north and we know what it is. George, talk about the cold weather game, and then we're going to talk about streaming and that $110 million that Peacock is going to get to do this.
Yeah. The nation has obviously seen a lot of bad weather this week, and it's going to continue, as you mentioned, going into this weekend. So obviously outdoors in Kansas City. The Chiefs really didn't want this. They wanted to get a first-round bye. Let's not kid ourselves. Most people thought they probably would get a first-round bye, but they just have been sort of a mini roller coaster season. The Dolphins the same way. They're either hot or cold, and pardon the pun, they will be very cold this weekend. It's interesting, that stat that you came up with, Scott. That speaks a lot about how they adapt to outdoor temperatures, because it doesn't bode well for them. But hey, look, they're strapping it on, both teams, and the score is 0-0 when the kickoff occurs. I, for one, am not happy, but this is sort of the wave of the future in the streaming department. To answer the second part of your question, I don't have Peacock, and I'm not going to put up the money right away to have it. This game is a very important game, but I think they're really limiting their audience. Let's just leave it at that. I think NBC really, and the networks, the NFL obviously had to approve all this, and this is something that a little bit of a direction they're going. it's going to be a good test case for them, obviously, but they are going to lose a lot of viewers by not making it available for over-the-air television. And by the way, that's the only game that will not be available this weekend.
Right. So, George, I'm assigning you chat room duties tonight. So, Candy, put his first one up, and then George is going to read them in rapid fire.
Yeah, John, the Dolphins run the ball better than almost anyone. That's good. Thank you for contributing.
And also mention the Spoelstra one, too, above it.
And the Spoelstra, yeah. We talk about coaches with a lot of money. He's one of the greatest coaches in NBA history. Of course, referring to Spoelstra of the Miami Heat. Peacock is broke. So, hi, Butch Davis. Good to see you, my friend.
And that one.
Wow, 44-mile-an-hour winds. Good luck. Good luck to all the players in that kind of weather condition.
I would say good luck to the kickers.
yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, you know what? Turn over to Joe.
Listen, Miami may be 0-10, but guess what? It's 0-0 when the game starts.
Yep.
John said it best. They run the ball better than any team. This is not the same Kansas City Chiefs team that we've seen in the past. Their receivers can't catch a cold. Traviskelce is too busy figuring out when Taylor Swift's going on tour in the offseason and if he can travel with her. So, the Dolphins are going to win this game. The fact that it's on Peacock, listen, I get that this is the future. Everything's going to streaming, but this is the NFL. It's wrong in so many ways. I hope at the NFL got a revenue share deal for whoever signs up for Peacock during this week, because I'm sure NBC right now is raking in the money for people that are signing up this week. But, is it good for the NFL? I don't really think so. I'd rather them do a pay-per-view, throw it for $5.99, and if you want to watch the game, you pay for it. So at least everyone would have the option. But to throw it straight on streaming, I think this is a bad look. And for the playoffs, at least, I don't like it. Regular season, you want to do something like this, who cares? And, I'm not sure in the local markets. I know usually the local markets, they'll throw it on a local channel when something like this happens. I sure hope they're doing that, because otherwise that's just a travesty.
Yeah, totally. And, I will say this much, though. If the Miami Dolphins didn't want to play in this weather, Joe, and the rest of you guys, all they had to do was beat Buffalo on Sunday, and they didn't do it. So, unfortunately for the Dolphins, when you don't beat the Buffalo Bills at Hard Rock Stadium, you made your bed, and you're going to sleep in a very cold one out in Kansas City. That's for sure. So go ahead. So who's next?
Candy. I hope ratings are down for this game and that they don't do it again. And Butch is quoting us a price here. Our friend in Detroit, Peacock, is $5.99.
Okay, there you go. All right,
and they're not doing local, what we've seen. That's right, Candy. They're not.
Right.
Peacock paid $110 million, John says, to broadcast this game exclusively. Universal, NBC Universal, yeah, $110 million. Even the NFL, thank you, Dave Bradley, are not exempt from progress. It's business and it's money.
Very good. Okay, well, Jacob, you got a lot more facts than any of the other guys had.
Yeah, Dave's got it right.
Thanks, Dave.
Candy, even if it bombed there, it's going to keep going. They're going to run it through. They're going to cut everybody's going to cut the cord eventually. Streaming is the future. But as far as the game goes, and John, you are completely correct. They can run that ball like crazy. They got 2 or 3 different runners. Miami does. KC, this can be an upset. This really can. I mean, you got Matt Nagy, and then you've got Matt Nagy, and he can't run a scheme to save his life. And then you've got wide receivers that can't catch a ball. So it's going to be all up, and you got to hope that they catch it, but it's going to be all up to Mahomes. It's going to be a very cold day. That's going to be a big-time deal. Miami can easily run that, and here's the big thing. They don't have to throw it long to Tyreek Hill here. They don't have to. They don't have to be able to do this because they can also do those slant patterns. They can do those screens. You can go forever. And that's the big thing. That can be that can absolutely be an upset game because KC is vulnerable. They're very much so. So I can absolutely see this. And we're going to see this more and more. We'll see 2 or 3 of those games next year too. Okay, that's cool, Butch. I mean, you're Miami or KC to get the game on your NBC station. That's good, but you're going to see 2 or 3 games next year on Peacock or just streaming or any of that. They're going toward this now. That's just what it is.
You know, Butch, I didn't see it on our NBC station, so maybe we'll have to go ahead and look it over and see if that's true. If it is, it would be great.
But
so,
Scott, just interject. That's perfectly fine. If they put it on the local channels, for the teams, I can deal with the streaming thing.
Right.
I can live with it because, you know what? If I don't live in Miami and I'm a Dolphin fan, oh well, I got to pay for the direct TV thing anyway, or now YouTube, whatever we're on because we're on streaming anyway because of YouTube. So I can deal with that. But for the local fan, you shouldn't have to be inconvenienced. Especially, I mean, imagine if you live in Miami, you're a season ticket holder, so you go to 8 or 9 games now, and then you get to the playoffs and you gotta go and buy Peacock, even though a lot of people have it. It's still, as long as it's a free game for the locals, I think it's okay.
Hey, Joe, you know what? I couldn't agree with you more. I really do. I mean, you want to charge the other markets going in, but Kansas City or Miami, I don't think so. So you fall into GMTA, great minds think alike, Joe. I want to thank the participation of John Scheer, Dave Bradley, Butch Davis, Denzel Snipes, and obviously Candy Ebling. I really love when the chat room is just active for sure, and we'll keep it rolling with that. Thanks for everybody out there. But Joe, you're 100% right. I mean, I have a problem with playoff games myself being streamed during the regular season. So we'll see how it plays out. This is a one-time shot, and we're going to find out exactly where the monetary implications are there. As far as Kansas City, you're right, Joe. They're not the same team that obviously they were when they won the Super Bowl, but Miami, again, controlled their own destiny to keep it home. And unfortunately, the Buffalo Bills are a hot football team, and Miami's on the road because of it. So, and we all know that the Miami Dolphins struggle sometimes in December and January. We'll see whether this is something that continues to obviously bother the South Florida fans in this particular market. All right, well, obviously, we do have some big news today, and let's get right to it. We're going to talk about a tale of 2 coaches that are in their 70s. Pete Carroll is out as the Seahawks coach after 14 seasons. Does win a Super Bowl there. He's 72 years old. Nick Saban, 72, completed 17th season, and Alabama's retiring. And, again, he won 7 national championships in college. And I have a feeling that the NIL and the transfer portal definitely frustrated the daylights out of him. So with that said, okay, Joe, 2 coaches in their 70s, are they getting AARP discounts, or are they just fed up and looking for new challenge? Or are they really, I know that Carroll will be an advisor to the Seahawks, but we'll see how long that plays out. So go ahead, Joe.
So with Saban, let's start with him. I think that, unfortunately, the transfer portal was his demise. He obviously knows how to recruit. He was one of the best recruiters there are in college football, always had top-notch talent, but unfortunately, kids come in and they're second, third string, and they're leaving. And you can't blame them. Why do you want to sit on the bench and you could go to another top school and transfer? You don't have the same implications you had a few years ago because the way the transfer portal is different now. So I think that is the demise to Nick Saban's career. Still a great coach, great recruiter. Can't say anything bad about the guy. Alabama's going to miss him. Alabama will still be a decent team, but it's not going to be the same because you can't replace a guy like Nick Saban. There's nobody out there that you're going to be able to bring in and say, that's the next Nick Saban. No, he's one of a kind. Pete Carroll, on the other hand, great players coach. Not the best coach in the world, but players loved him. He knew how to win, won a Super Bowl, won in college. Just a great guy, all-around guy. Totally different personalities. Nick Saban's kind of more like the Bill Belichick type, more stoic and not much personality. Pete Carroll, very friendly and warm. I've talked to Pete before. Nice, one of the nicest guys in the world. Gotta love him.
All right. Well, this is an interesting comment. Joe, you want to go ahead and answer this one?
Would you be opposed to BB and Carroll teaming up in Seattle? Nah, I don't think that would be a good match. I don't think Belichick wants to go to Seattle.
I don't think he wants to be a coordinator.
I think if he's going somewhere, he's going to Los Angeles. I think that's his next place of employment.
Believe it or not, I actually think a good fit for Belichick would be Atlanta. They can get the quarterback right, but we'll see how it plays out. He's not unemployed yet, but who knows? Could be a breaking story that we talk about on next week's Sports Exchange. So, all right. Go ahead, George.
Well, it's funny about Saban because when I was watching that game against Michigan, he just didn't have the same enthusiasm. He just looked like he was dragging a bit on the sidelines. And of course, that was a very important game. And obviously his team wasn't performing as well as he wanted. They lost to Michigan in the semifinals there at the Rose Bowl, but he just looked drained to me. So this doesn't come as a total surprise. He's had a fantastic career. I mean, my goodness, all the championships and 17 seasons at Alabama. And I mean, he's 72 years old, and I'm sure his wife has probably said, hey, honey, when are we going to be able to spend some more time together, as opposed to you running this almost 24/7 operation, which, as you guys know, I don't have to tell you that, all our listeners know too, it's a thankless job of being a head football coach, especially for a college. And you're right, JB. Good point about the portal and the guys that are leaving and guys that he cannot retain like he used to. Well, we all know that it's just been a factory, obviously, for Alabama players to get into the NFL. So it's not that they retained them all 4 years, but at least they would have been staying there for, 2, perhaps even a stretch 3 years, some of the stars. But doesn't total surprise me, but he's a great coach. He's cemented himself, obviously, as a Hall of Famer, no question about it. Pete Carroll, I've always admired Pete Carroll. He's done a good job. They only won one title in Seattle. Obviously, he and the ownership and the fans probably thought they should have done better, and they really should have, especially when Russell Wilson was at his prime. But they've always had good contending teams. They've given fits to the Detroit Lions. My God, they've had the Lions number the last several seasons, Seattle. That being said, again, Pete's a good guy, rubs some people the wrong way, of course. A little bit, a little prickly attitude sometimes, but, from the college ranks to the NFL, he's done well for himself. But again, he doesn't have a whole lot of championships to speak of, but I'm not totally surprised by that one either. There's a lot of movement going on right now. And of course, the big one is going to be, what is Jim Harbaugh going to decide? And that's going to be like, could have a domino effect depending on what he decides to do. So it's an interesting topic. And obviously, like you said, Scott, there's a lot of stuff happening right now with this coaching carousel.
No doubt. All right, Jacob.
Well, let me say this part. It's John, what you were bringing up with bringing the front office and everything, Carroll front office, BB full control, 2 great minds. No, because the reason is Pete Carroll is the modern day. I'm not talking about winning wise. I'm talking about personality wise. He's the modern day Lombardi. Modern day, as in they all had this crazy energy to constantly move on everything. Mind you, Lombardi died at 57, so he got to last longer. But what I mean by modern day Lombardi is the fact that he's going to get into that front office. He's going to get depressed. His personality and his energy does not allow for an office job. He's not going to like it. He's a guy, he still surfs at 70 years old, 72 years old. He has all this crazy, and he works out, and he's in great shape. He's got all this crazy energy. He's not going to want to be there. He's going to be gone from Seattle within a year. He's going to find a new team, and he's going to keep it going until he has no more energy. So there's that. But as far as Belichick and Saban, I could see them finding a beach house together and writing the world's greatest coaching book that even beats out Bill Walsh. And, the 100-page thing. They're going to do that, and it's going to be and unlike the Walsh book that only sold 48,000, this one's going to sell millions because everybody this is a different world now.
All right, so Jacob, let me ask you a quick question. I thought I did, but I want to make sure you did have a chance to chime in on the Kansas City topic. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, I sure did.
Okay, just making sure. All right, I want to make sure everybody gets an opportunity. The only thing I can say about this is we know how hard it was for Bear Bryant to be replaced. You know what? I would say in those times it's easier to replace a legend because there was less moving parts than you have now. And it's just a totally different animal. But bear in mind, when Bear Bryant left, they went through quite a few coaches. When you think of Ray Perkins as the first one that followed, and then you ultimately brought in Gene Stallings, and then you eventually landed Saban. So it's not an easy job to definitely go out there and fill. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, that's for sure. So, all right. Well, if everybody got their 2 cents on this, just want to make sure on this, right?
Yep.
Very good. All right. Well, let's talk about something John Shear brought up earlier. We're going to bring it up now. The Miami Heat coach, Erikspoelstra, who's only 53 years old, mind you, has reported that they've given him an 8-year, $120 million extension to coach Erikspoelstra. He's 725 and 506 since taking over for Patriley. He has 6 finals appearances and won back-to-back titles in 12 and 13. Can I make it an easy question for everybody? Okay, start with you, Joe, at the top. Is Erikspoelstra worth the money?
Listen, he's one of the best coaches in the NBA. He came from a video coordinator. He worked his way up. Got to congratulate the man for getting paid. He's earned it. He deserves to get his money. I don't give him credit for all his final appearances. That was back in the day when, LeBron was there. And to me, it didn't have much to do with his coaching, but his coaching is on display the last few years, and he's proven that he's one of the best in the game.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Jacob?
One of the greatest things I love about this story is that Pat Riley is the man. He is the coolest old man in the league by miles. Let's put it this way. One of the stories, here's a little addendum to that story about getting $120 million. They waited till the finalized of his divorce happened. Then they got him the money. They waited till the sport was finalized and she couldn't get any of it. Pat knows the drill. Pat understands. So I love him for it.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
That is awesome.
They waited and they got it to him. Yeah, exactly. No, he is one of the greats of the game. He really is. And you want to know the thing about Miami? You talk about heat culture and everything like that. They have the coolest coach. They have the coolest president with Pat Riley. That man is silver fox with the tan, still in shape. Spoelstra still in shape. There is a standard in Miami. If your coach is in shape, your president looks good and stays in shape. You better go out there and work. So I love it for Miami. I have a respect for Miami. They expect you to win. They expect greatness. And so that's what I love about that team. It's like, and the Miami Dolphins will get there soon itself.
We tell you, they have a great owner, Mickyarison. And of all the 4 franchises, major ones, of course, you can add Inter Miami because they're really starting to make noise too. Miami Heat are unquestionably in a class by themselves as the best one of any of them. And when you think of how few coaches they've gone through, how many players' numbers are retired. I remember when the Pistons were playing good basketball, I'd go down to there a lot. It was great there. They built a good stadium right by Bayside, which is right near the cruise ships. The Miami Heat are, of all the 4-5 major sports team, they're number one, and you can put whoever you want after that. But the Heat are in a class all by themselves for sure. Okay, George.
Well, yeah, he's won 2 NBA championships. I've always admired him. He's done a great job. He's lost 4 NBA finals, if you guys might recall. And it has been 11 years or so since the Heat delivered on a championship. But all that being said, he is really a good class guy. I really have admired him over the years. 2 things that are kind of linked in history for him, to me, is his connection to Detroit. His grandfather was one of the best sports writers we ever had here in Detroit, Watson Spoelstra, for the Detroit News. And on a sad note, you guys might recall that he was just a couple of yards away, unfortunately, when hankgathers collapsed and died of a heart condition. Spoelstra was there, obviously, on the floor at that time, a couple of yards away from that. I think it was a basketball tournament game against Loyola Marymount. But on an upside, obviously, if you're going to give that money to somebody, very well deserving. And I'm happy for him. I mean, you don't usually throw that kind of money around. Monty Williams got a whole bundle of money in the offseason, as we know, and that has not been working out so far. But here's a guy that really deserved it, Scott. I admire erikspoelstra and what he's done with the Heat.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is what everybody else said. I even heard what Stephen A. Smith and a bunch of other people. Erikspoelstra deserves every nickel that he gets. He doesn't take shortcuts. He doesn't cheat the system. He works his tail off big time. So, Spo, I'm glad that you got the money, but it's well deserved, period. All right, we're going to talk about a little bit of hockey. Connor Bedard will miss 6 to 8 weeks due to a fractured jaw and will miss the All-Star game. So, George, we'll start at the top. How important of a loss is it, not for the Chicago Blackhawks, but the NHL?
Well, yeah. I mean, you're trying to, if you're sitting in Gary Bettman's seat in the NHL office, you try to get as many superstars as you can in front of the national audience. So obviously it is a little bit of a blow to the NHL, obviously Chicago. The game's being played in Toronto. It hasn't been in Toronto in quite a number of years, the NHL All-Star Weekend in February. So, I mean, they'll still go ahead with the festivities. And of course, one player doesn't stop the show from going on, as they say. But yeah, hockey's going to miss him. He's done quite well this year already as a rookie, and certainly has all the tools, I think, to be one of the best players for a long, long time in the NHL. Connor Bedard has got the drive and the desire and the athletic ability to be a star for a long, long time in the league. And I think it's just a temporary thing. Obviously, you don't wish him ill will at all, even though you might be rooting for your own local team to beat him and beat his Blackhawks. But they've been down for a long time. And I mean, if you want to turn one of these cities around, and we've talked about this before, as you guys know, the original six is such an important part of the NHL's history. And Chicago is one of those franchises, unlike Detroit and the Rangers, Boston, Montreal, Toronto, et cetera, that you want to see succeed because they have a lot of pedigree, a lot of hockey love going on right there. Yeah, John says, "Go Canes." Okay. He still hasn't forgiven the Red Wings for that Stanley Cup against us.
Well, hey,
What was
John,
it, about
I'm
7?
going to make an offer to John Shearer. I don't think anybody would have a problem. Reach out to JV or myself. You want to come on the show? We're always looking for a fifth person. John, you're welcome anytime. I'm very eternally grateful because you helped me get comfortable with StreamYard. Now I'm the one who's moderating, so you can come on and join us as we bring in 4 to 5 people on a given night. So, John, think about it. Let JB or myself know, and we'll dial you in for a night. All right. With that said, Connor Bedard, obviously one of the top young players in the National Hockey League. Okay. And he's the face of the league. It's just, unfortunately, that jaw injury, okay, is nothing to feel good about. Please, folks, let me humble myself. If I ever had a jaw injury, what would be left of me? I can't handle that, man. You can 6 in stone may break my bone, but don't mess around with my jaw. Oh, my goodness, I can handle that, but not that.
You can still drink your soda.
Yeah. For all those people that are on liquid diets out there, you let me know about that. But you know what? With all due respect, Connor Bedard is what the NHL needs. He really does. And, get well soon. But let me tell you, when you have a fractured jaw, I've even known a lot of people that, had their jaw wired. And that's not my style. And you're welcome, John, anytime. Hopefully we can make it happen. All right. Since everybody's spoken, okay. Milkshakes don't give me shit there. No.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate anytime one of the young stars in any league gets hurt, especially on a team that is rebuilding and is fun to watch. I want to know who I need to contact to get refunds for the tickets I have upcoming. Now, I'm just playing it. I'm going to a game next week, but that's part of sports. Unfortunately, it's the bad part of sports that these guys are out there playing their hardest and they get injured, whether it be For example, A.J. Brown hurt his knee at MetLife last week, and we talked about it last night on Sideline Sports, how the MetLife turf is horrible, and there's more knee injuries there than anywhere else. Those are preventable injuries. In hockey, with his jaw, I'm sure it wasn't something that was preventable. It's part of the game, and it's the worst part of the game because, you look at guys like ericlindros who had concussion problems when he was one of the young stars of the game and was helping, bring eyes to the NHL. It's the unfortunate part of sports, that these athletes go out there, give 110%, and sometimes things happen and their bodies get injured and they have to sit out for a while and we get to miss something special.
Yeah, good point. Why don't you read this comment by John?
That and FedEx Field, the two worst.
Okay, I'm going to say Soldier Field's up there.
Well, at least it's grass.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but the Chicago Park District doesn't do crap with it. It's horrible.
Yeah, but let me tell you this though, Jacob. Anytime you're dealing with a situation where you're dealing with mainly turf versus field turf and grass, it's a different animal. And there you go, John Shear. Remember, they're human; they aren't robots. Okay.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Good point.
And the only robot I mentioned on Pundit's Pundit was the one over in Lost in Space. So for a lot of the people out there watching, I'm sure you remember Lost in Space, Will Robinson, Dr. Zachary Smith. Forget it. Now I'm having a disease called dementia, spelled DUMBMENTIA, and that's something I made, by the way, up, so you won't find it in Webster's dictionary.
You're having your old man.
3 of our viewers get that reference there.
No, that's okay.
Will Robinson.
Yeah, there you go. Earlier. And I only built that one off of John Shear when he brought up the robots comment. So there you go, John. Google up Lost in Space, and maybe somebody will see a rerun once in a while and then come back to me. All right. Well, this one. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, I didn't get to say about Connor.
That's
Bedard.
all right.
I played hockey 3 years. Nothing big. I wasn't the greatest, nowhere near. But the thing about it that I did from the beginning is I had just gotten it after I got my braces off. Right after that. So guess what? I put the mask on. I was the only one out there who played mask. Got made fun of a few times. Did not care. Guess what? See these nice choppers? Yeah. It's like long term, nice term. It's like I would have gotten a teeth, and it's like, you want to know something? The way they make those sticks fly around, more than happy. I'd be more than. Here's the thing: you're still going to be a tough guy because you're still going to take body shots. You're still going to take a lot of things on that. Protect the face because the NHL has enough trouble getting people. They're getting the names, the faces of the league right now. You want to keep those good chompers. You want to keep it out there. Put the masks on these helmets. Put the masks on these helmets and protect these kids because we're going to see pucks flying to the face next. We're going to see a lot that. I'm sorry. It's like maybe you think I'm being weak, but the NHL needs to promote themselves. So you want to keep them healthy.
Well, let me give you a story back in the day in the 80s. And I had the good fortune of interviewing a guy by the name of Jacquesplante many years ago when he was with the Montreal Canadiens. And everybody knows that, he played with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he's the guy that invented the mask. And it was unbelievable at the time that I had a chance to Jacquesplante, the guy who's actually the inventor of the mask. Thanks, Butch. Appreciate you. I said nice. So, yeah, Jacob, I can see some validation of the mask, but, a broken jaw is a broken jaw, or fractured, or whatever you want to call it. But Jacquesplante, I hope a lot of people that are, whether you're young or old, would have an opportunity to Google Jacquesplante, because he was a guy that really, everybody said, why did you go ahead and put a mask on? And all of a sudden became a safety thing that ultimately everybody ended up doing. And one of the last guys that finally put a mask on, George and I know him real well. I mean, we never met him or know of him, is a guy by the name of Joe Daly. Remember him?
Yeah.
For the Red Wings back in the day, but
you look back on those old scenes. You're right, Scott. You got Gump Worsley with no mask on, great goalie from Montreal. I mean, you can go down the line. I mean, Roger Crozier.
He was 55 at 25.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. There was a picture once of Ted Lindsay, and they showed a picture of him with all the scars all over his face. They put little X's on a picture of his face. And you'd be amazed at how many stitches that man had to play through. One of the toughest guys I ever met, and Scott met too, Ted Lindsay of the Red Wings, and he also played for Chicago.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, but the original 6-time was good. All right. Well, a topic everybody's going to really enjoy here, and that's it. It's the game you're looking forward to, George. Obviously, we mentioned a little bit last night, but we have a couple of new people on tonight. And
Oh yeah. Well, Scott, everybody has got their eyes set on this one. Detroit and the Los Angeles Rams. There's no question about Matthew Stafford homecoming. There's so many storylines here. The trade, as everybody knows, with Goff and Stafford, and the stockpiling of draft choices that the Rams gave Detroit. A lot of these great draft choices that have been made, and these guys are playing full time for the Lions. No shortage of storylines here, let me tell you. But once the start of that game once it's underway, I mean, you can forget about all that other stuff. In fact, all of the players, they got to block that stuff out. You want to get revenge on this guy, or that guy wants to get revenge on Sean Payton, and this guy didn't like the trade, and, Josh Reynolds. I mean, there's so many things you can worry about, but you got to just strap it on, and that is going to be one heck of a game. I'll tell you right now, I mean, I give Detroit maybe a slight edge, obviously being the home team, but it's going to be a tough one. It should be one of the better games of the weekend. Obviously, perfect weather conditions. They're playing inside a dome in a cold city like Detroit, but I think it's going to be a hell of a game. That's the one I'm really watching for, and I'll be there, thank goodness, to be able to cover it for all of us here.
Yeah, at Ford Field, by the way.
Yeah.
At least that one's on NBC, folks, so you can see it for free. Okay, you don't have to worry about the other one earlier. Okay, Jacob, the game you're looking forward to this weekend.
Oh, that one. No question. Cleveland and Houston's up there, but that one. Because this is what I want. I heard that there were some fans. Someone brought it up on Facebook today because I brought this up. That it looked like they were going to try to ban Detroit Stafford jerseys, which is so petty and stupid. Here's what you do. Enjoy that game. It's going to be, I see that being a classic. And do you want to know what you do after it? Win or lose, say goodbye properly to Matthew Stafford. This is probably it. And you know something? He's one of the last of the Warriors that we've seen. Josh Allen, I guess, is there a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Play hurt, everything. This guy is a warrior and a half that you could bring into the 60s. And you could see him with blood down his face like you saw Y.A. Tittle. He would have played like that. He played, and you said you had 5 wins most years, and he was the reason for all 5 wins. He was a fighter, a warrior, everything. Thank him. Give him the greatest send-off, whether you win or lose. Cheer for him if you lose and he moves on, and give him a goodbye if you win and move on. All standing ovation, because we're not going to see the likes of him too much anymore.
Well, Detroit fans rooted for him when he won the Super Bowl, so I don't think that's really overly that far-fetched.
Right.
That's for sure. And, I'll give Joel an opportunity to mention what game he's looking for, but I do want to say this. How about Jared Goff? Here's a guy that's on a mission to get back to the Super Bowl, and he's going to be attached to a trivia question, too, as the latest Lions quarterback to win a division, Jared Goff. And if you talk about a trade that's worked out for both sides, that one definitely has. Our turn over to Joe.
Really simple. I'm glad I have a Peacock subscription since I don't live in Kansas City or Miami, because a cold weather game with Kansas City, Taylor Swift 110 times, more Taylor Swift. Did I mention Taylor Swift?
Not enough.
TS?
Not enough. More of them.
I mean, where do I get my Chiefs Taylor Swift jersey? But anyway, they're going to also play football on Saturday night. It's not just going to be all Taylor Swift.
And Taylor Swift.
Yes. But no, it's going to be a good game. I really see Miami, forget about it being cold weather. They're going to come to play. Kansas City needs to step up. They need to play how they haven't played all year. They beat Miami earlier in the year, but this is a different Miami team. They have 3 running backs. They have good receivers. Their defense is good enough. Kansas City has looked like they're in space the whole year. Everyone wants to see, the best teams in football. Everyone spoke about Miami all year that, when they scored the 70 points, they got the number 1 offense. That used to be Kansas City. So we're going to see the 2 best offenses in the NFL basically go at it. and it's going to be cold. It's going to be football weather. I'm excited. That to me is football. Detroit, get rid of the dome. Play outside. It's your natural advantage.
Not going to
Let me tell
happen.
you, Joe. Okay, George Eichler and I saw games at Tiger Stadium, and boy,
Yeah, we did. We sure did.
Oh, it's horrible for the fans, but for the teams, it's an advantage. Play outside.
I don't know. I like my spot in the press box. So I could take my cake and eat it too. So it doesn't matter.
He is not, Dave. He is not. He was older. He's older and he's about to retire. He's probably just going to get on TV now and pump the heck out of Pfizer. That's all he's going to do. Make his $20 million.
And Taylor Swift.
And well, he'll pump that a different way.
And you know what? Butch Davis reminds us, and JB, I know you mentioned, and Scott, you mentioned about the Lions and the Rams, but yeah, they got another date next year, next fall. The schedule's already said that the Rams will play in Detroit unless that game is moved international, which is a possibility because the Lions have not played international. But I'm done with that. Thanks, Butch, though, for letting us know.
Yeah, I like Dave Bradley's comment. Kelsey is ruined now. I like Bradley. JV and I and Jacob, we know this guy's he's pretty cool stuff, isn't he, Joe? Dave Bradley. Yeah,
Great guy.
Really is. Yeah, you know what? I'm with you, Joe. I'm intrigued about the Kansas City-Miami game. I really am. Being in the cold weather, and I already mentioned the stats there. So, again, it'll remember one thing, that game was played in London. Okay. But again, until the Dolphins prove it, I realize running the football is what they need to do. Okay. To me, I need to see Miami win a game in those kinds of weather conditions, a game. Okay. To get me to drink the Dolphins Kool-Aid. Now, the only question I want to present in front of all you guys, since we're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, and we'll talk about the Lions and the Rams, is Miketirico wanted an asterisk put next to that game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you think that Miketirico, Joe, is going to stick an asterisk next to this game? Or does the Ann Arbor resident, might go ahead and say, no, this one was won the right way? Because I'm going to start nicknaming Mike Tirico Mike Asterisk Tirico. And he's a nice guy, but I'm going to Mike Asterisk Tirico, and I've already put George on it. He's going to ask him, do you think they still deserve an asterisk now? Joe, I'm going to hit you with that question.
So what was the asterisk for?
Probably not playing Georgia.
Because of the Kansas City, there no Kelsey. And who else was missing from that opening night?
Well, mainly Kelsey was the one they were talking about.
Oh,
yeah.
I defer the question to Taylor Swift. She could answer.
No, give it to Brittany Mahomes.
A win's a win's a win.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as asterisks. It's the stupidest thing in the world. You play with who's on the field. Give me a break. There's no asterisks.
Yeah, well, you know what? George is going to go out there and do our crack field work and find out if and the amazing part about it, he does live in Ann Arbor, so it's like, really? He'll be sleeping in his old bed that night regardless.
Yeah.
I can say this about Kansas City: if they win, if KC wins, this is the thing. It is going to have to be Traviskelce's game of his life. I mean, a lot of 5 yard down the middle and run through people. He's going to have to find one. It's going to kill him because he's getting older, but it's good. They have no choice because no one else can hold on to that ball. So it's going to have to be his game if they're going to win it.
All right. Well, time is working to our benefit tonight. So here's what we're going to do. Joe, you have a parting shot.
St. John's men's basketball. Another big win tonight against Providence. They are now, if I'm correct, 14-4. 3-1 in the Big East. That they used to be the number 3 winningest Division I college basketball team in the country. Unfortunately, hard times hit them. They fell behind a couple other really great colleges. But good to see Coach Pitino in Flushing getting St. John's back to where they should be. I'm excited to see what the next couple of years bring when he gets his recruits in there and he can actually do what he needs to do. He's doing this with some guys he took from Iona and the Ivy League. So imagine when he starts getting the guys that he could go out there and get, and using the Garden as his backdrop. Because if you want to play basketball, you want to play Madison Square Garden. I don't care where you're from. So it always boggled my mind how St. John's didn't always have the best recruiting teams year after year after year. The only school that gets to play at the Garden for 8 to 10 home games a year. So no better school.
Okay. Well, I think Rick Pitino's going to do some good stuff there, and I'm glad he landed the same job. And of course, my friend Mike Jarvis actually coached there. Now he's living down in my neck of the woods. Was a very good friend of mine. All right, Jacob, if you have a parting shot, make sure it doesn't last a million years.
I'm thinking 2 million. No, this is short. This is short. Philly fans, I know I normally accuse you of having the IQ of the Liberty Bell, and not even that high. But the biggest thing about this is you're really showing that to me by wanting to get rid of Nick Sirianni now with a whole big struggle going on. Here's the deal. This is the truth of everything. You're living off your emotional nitwit selves. He got to a Super Bowl last year, 11 wins this year, even if it's a struggle now. Yes, he's struggling. Yes, they're probably going to have trouble in Tampa, and they're not winning anywhere else. But let me bring this to you straight. Who are you going to get that would be better than him if you let him go? If you let a guy go, the Bears have had trouble getting someone after Lovey, and he had 10 wins in one season. You got a Super Bowl and 11 wins. Who are you going to get? See, you're living off your emotional nitwit. You got to stop that. That's just the period and the story. See what happens. If he let him go to this year. If he continues to lose, then you got to let him go. But you're not right here. It is time. It is time you just let this be. Let it be. Whatever happens, happens on this part. He could have a better season next year. But you got to quit it. You got to quit being stupid and quit being emotional. Because you're going to cost your team. Trust me from a Bears fan. You're going to cost your team something big if you let this guy go now.
Jacob, the problem is, Britney Spears isn't going to their games. Taylor Swift's already booked to Kansas City. They tried to get Britney, and it's just not working out.
Well, Britney Spears had too many times with his knives. He had too many times with the knives. But no, that's just the thing. It's like it's enough of trying to fire somebody because you're a little bit emotional and you've been betting too much. It's enough of that. You're going to cost this team a decade if you don't stop it.
Okay. I like the banner back and forth. All right, George Eichhorn.
Well, speaking of basketball, I guess my parting shot's going to be, please, can you cut us some slack here, you basketball gods? I mean, we got the Pistons with their horrible record. We got the University of Detroit Titans in the Horizon League with a horrible record. We got the University of Michigan Wolverines struggling. We got the Michigan State Spartans struggling. We need to get some help here in Detroit to make sure basketball is turned on. We are hosting the Sweet 16. If people forgot, the lead up to the Final Four, Detroit's Little Caesars Arena is hosting it this year, and so I hope we get some better basketball. Is what I'm saying. It's certainly overdue. We enjoy our winning football, but as far as Michigan goes, we got to turn this thing around here for the Pistons and our college teams here. Hats off to Oakland University, which is above 500 at 10-8, and the Spartans are above 500. But it's just been a struggle so far, guys, with hoops here in Motown and the state of Michigan.
Okay, I want to allude to this parting shot as I did on Pundit Fun at New Audience tonight. The LA Lakers defeated the Toronto Raptors 132-131. The Lakers get 23 free throws in the fourth quarter. The Raptors had only 2. That led to an epic rant by Toronto coach Darko Rajakovic. The Lakers had 36 free throws in the game. Toronto had 13. Way too big of a disparity. I give the Toronto coach a heck of a lot of kudos for standing up for his players. And to me, that's a great way to win your locker room. It really, really is. And let's face it, maybe he'll get fined, but you know what? I got news for you. When I've seen these fines before, how many fan bases has stepped up to the plate and gone out there and paid the fine. It's not about the fine; it's about the principle. You stand up for your players and you go out there and let them know that you have their back. So, I have one headline I want to get to, and then we'll call it a night. And that's that New York Yankees have emerged as a candidate to sign Marcus Stroman, a source told John Morosi of MLB Network. So I'm going to ask each of you a quick question, okay? And it's very quick. George, Marcus Stroman in a New York Yankees uniform, how do you think that would look?
Why not? Why not? I say they certainly could use the help, and he's got a lot of talent. He's a good ball player. I wouldn't mind seeing it. You know, I really wouldn't. I think he'll help them out.
Okay. One other thing I want to do before I turn it over to Joe is there is another rematch with Michigan and Washington in Seattle that will occur in October when the Washington Huskies become an official member of the Big Ten. All right, Joe, let's talk about Stroman.
So he grew up on Long Island. He grew up a Yankee fan. They did try to get him from Toronto when they traded him a while ago. It just didn't work out. Hard to work out trades in your own division. I think it'd be a natural fit for him to play for the Yankees. He has a great personality, good guy. Got a chance to see him in Chicago the last couple of years. I think it'd be a great fit to see him in the Bronx, and I think it'd be his lifelong dream.
Very good. Okay, Jacob.
This is an interesting deal, and I'm glad that you said that, JB. That's a very interesting thing to see Stroman in New York. This is the question I've got. This is the question I have for every player from here on out. What will they think of what would they think of the haircut and the trimming, the beard going into a mustache, the very old school Yankee way that still happens to this day? And how long will it happen? Will he fight it or will he go for it? That's the big thing I have to say. I think he'd be dang good on the Yankees. Don't get that wrong. But as far as their standards of shaving. Their standards of shaving and their standards of the way their uniforms are built and everything. Got to remember what his hair's been the last couple of years. Will he do it? That's the question. It's like, or will he fight it? It's like, I don't know, but it'd be an interesting thing to find out.
Well, you'll find out when they talk about it during their negotiations, first of all. I mean, you don't have a done deal yet. He's emerged as a candidate to join the team, so they ultimately work those things out. So, but I think it'll certainly give the Yankees it'll bolster their pitching staff. Everybody knows their pitching has really tailed off at the end, and that's why they haven't been able to bring home the World Series. So, with that said, I want to remind everybody that the Sports Exchange is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for more subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? Boy, we've had some great participation in the chat room tonight. Feel free to participate in the chat room. I'm proud of the chat room, everybody that's contributed. Also, send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Want to advertise cost efficiently? Give me a call at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, and eventually Instagram. Website, www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter/X @Tribune South. Candy Ebling's producing the show, and she's a mastermind of putting the website together. I have a book out there that just got released, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders, that can be purchased on Amazon and Kindle. It's out there right now, so feel free to check it out. I know that it's a great read for everybody that's learning about our business, as well as someone that has tracked it for many, many years. One of my favorite pieces in there is Frank Reynolds. Okay, and also another note, hopefully at the end of the month, we're looking at the Sports Exchange and Pundit on NGBN TV. This whole network is led by Ian Hill and company, so we're looking forward to joining forces with them. JB Ellis was the mastermind behind getting it all together. Now all we have to do is get it right for JB Ellis to look like a bigger mastermind, so we can call JB Einstein Ellis. I wonder how that would sound. Okay, so whatever. I don't know if he's ever been called Einstein, but you know what? I'm calling on him now to let everybody know how they get a hold of him.
JB_the program on X, Sideline Sport 1 on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. You can watch all our great shows, NFL alumni, our alumni media, NGBN, which is the new network, Sneak Peek, launching January 29th. Make sure you download it. And Taylor Swift, I know you're out there watching. Read Scott's book and make sure you watch every week. We're more exciting than Kelsey lately, so definitely make sure you're checking us out.
Great stuff. I love those promos, Alice. There might be a future for you in this business after all, especially when you finish reading my book. And by the way, JB, I do turn 62 in December 29th, so promise me you'll finish those remaining chapters before I collect Social Security.
I can't promise anything, but I can tell you one thing. We've had less Taylor Swift usage of this show than NBC on Peacock will have on Saturday.
Good comeback. Oh, look at this guy. All right. Cliff Notes version. And I'm going to call Jacob Cliff Notes Christner.
Yeah, 5 shows a week on Tribune South and the South Florida Tribune and Sideline Sports. I am also in a movie going to be starting in February, filming in February, and I'll be sitting next to Taylor Swift on Saturday night at the Kansas City game. No, just kidding.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Who was it? Was it Anne Murray that went ahead and sung the song Dreaming? I Must Be Dreaming. All right, that's okay. All right, Anne, last
another.
So you mean Taylor's dreaming?
What's that?
Taylor's dreaming that Jacob's sitting next to him? Good job, Jacob.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, we have another author here, and his name is George Einstein.
Oh, yeah. Well, one comment from Candy, we gotta give her some props, man. We talk about a historic series. That's the Packers and the Cowboys. So that should be a very fun game to watch too. Thanks, Candy. You can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com or on Twitter at SanGSports99. Follow me on many of these programs here on the South Florida Tribune and Sideline Sports channels. And I look forward to having you read my comments in the Motor City Tribune, which is under the South Florida Tribune, as I write some columns there. And looking forward to being part of future shows here with all of you.
All right. Well, that concludes this edition of the Sports Exchange. So on behalf of George Eichhorn, JB Ellis, and Jacob Christner, we want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. Also, tomorrow programming, No Pundits Pundit, will be on at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. We have back-to-back, so I hope you can join us. We'll have Jacob, myself, Denzel Snipes, and George Eichhorn back. So meanwhile, everybody have a great night, and thank you very much for joining us. And we'll catch you in around 23 hours. Good night, everybody.